Asto ma satgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityurma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Mother, hold our hand. All the devotees who are aspiring follower of spiritual life through Kriya Yoga, Vedanta, aspiring to attain that oneness with you, the Supreme Brahman, Advaita Brahman, Saguna Brahman, Dvaita Advaita Vedanta, follower of all spiritual practices, of all religion, saints and rishis of all religion, our gurus, Paramhamsa Yogananda, Sri Sri Yukteswar Giri, Sri Sri Lahiri Mahasaya, Swami Sri Vivekananda, Holy Mother Sharada, Paramhamsa Ramakrishna, the Adi Guru, our Param Guru, Mahavatar Babaji, the Deathless Master, hold our hand and guide us through this journey so that we may feel your presence all the time in our journey, feeling the presence, taking ourselves from ignorance to wisdom, unreal to real, and death to immortality. Om Guru Jai Guru, Om Guru Jai Guru, Om Guru Jai Guru Jai Guru Om. To begin today's session, we are taking up the journey of the understanding of spirituality. Spirituality is not religion. Religion is way of life, religious. Spirituality is the essence of the science. If you look at, as per the great discoveries of the science that made our life so much more better, comfortable, at the press of a button, you can communicate across the ocean. You can communicate across the planets. That is the power of the science today. But this science, if you reflect carefully and think on it, is outside of us. Any part of the science is outside of us. And this us is, if you look carefully, it is not us, the body, apparently the body, but there is science of the body too. But this us or this me is not the nama, rupa, babhara, the name, form, or the action. But this us is what we have been discussing earlier. Take it on from there is our awareness, our knowingness, our understandingness, our Brahman, consciousness. Without that consciousness, we cannot perceive the world. Without being aware, we cannot learn anything, do anything, eat, sleep, talk, travel, anything. Nothing is possible if I'm not aware. So if there is a zero awareness, we are called dead. Slight bit of awareness, we are in coma. Slightly better, unconscious, either naturally unconscious or anesthetized prior to surgical operations. Little better consciousness is deep sleep. Metaphorically speaking, little better is dream state of sleep. Little better is awakened state, but in the awakened state, if you're absent-minded and not really concentrating on what is happening, we have that consciousness of bits. There are 126 bits of attention that one can give if you have 100% focus, as per the Western science by the neurologist. 126. So often we say, I do multitasking. Actually, this metaphor is not really true if you're truly wanting to do that job very well. You do the job very well if you put all 126 bits. Example, you will find sometimes when there are too many people talking or in a market yard, and if you try to do meditation, it is difficult. It is not impossible. You have the faculties given by the supreme authorities of the supreme spirituality of the world that you can shut off your senses and the mind. But it is difficult process, and you need to attain a certain training of the mind, like the training of a wild elephant or a horse. Like that, you train your mind, which is like a monkey jumping from one branch to another to another. Our mind is like that. As Vivekananda goes ahead and explains in Raja Yoga, in his book, which was written in New York in 1846. 45, he started writing. It was completed, Raja Yoga, Karma Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. A monkey. You notice the monkeys are always jumping from one branch to another branch to another. Similarly, you notice you start thinking and a little thought comes in. Let's say I want to have coffee. And from there it shoots up. Last time when I went to Starbucks, I met so-and-so. And then that thought goes to, what about that person? Who else was with the person? And from there, the thought goes about men and women or something like that. It is snowballing. The thought process is jumping from one branch to another branch to another branch. So the process of Vedanta to calming that mind, or very simply given down to us, is following those principles. Viveka, discrimination of what is real, what is not real on this world. That's how Vivekananda, who knew that, was given the name Vivekananda. By the way, not on the point, but it comes to my mind to share with you. I was just reading. Vivekananda says that Paramahansa Ramakrishna, who is famous for his bhakti yoga, he says he's actually a jnana yogi. But wears the mask of Bhakti Yoga. And Paramahamsa Ramakrishna say, Vivekananda wears the mask of Jnana Yoga. He is actually a Bhakti Yogi. And if you read a famous small booklet on the talks by Vivekananda in Long Island, Thousand Park, in 1845, if you listen to his talks, he had given for 6 weeks. He stayed there for about 6 weeks for resting. He was very tired. So his devotees said, let us go. And there's a lady whose name was Betty. She had an apartment and she said, Swamiji, you come, we will all stay there. We'll take care of you. And you take daily sessions. Those sessions are inspired talks. Vivekananda says 2 things in that is worth our knowing today, understanding it. Those of you already read it, it's beautiful. When he came back, after that time, he went back to New York and sessions and came back to India, and he met Sister Nivedita. Sister Nivedita naturally asked him, so Gurudev, how was your talk? How did the sessions go? And Vivekananda shared, you all say that I am a great speaker. I realize I have never spoken so well than this 6 weeks of time. And second one, his talk is on 2nd July 1845, which was a Tuesday. He is talking about the Divine Mother. And there he says, I came to realize I have fought for 6 years with my Gurudev. His name, quoting Paramahamsa Ramakrishna, that I do not want to do worship of these idols. There is no God in the statue and the idol. I'm not wanting to go to the... And he says, today I realize that whatever I do, it is happening only because of the Mother is doing it through me. It is the Mother who spoke to me. Reflect. In 1893, 11 September, Vivekananda gave a talk to the World Religion Conference in Chicago. His turn originally was number 3, but he requested in his signal later. And he was asked twice more, but he eventually spoke around 21st, when just before him, an Italian priest who was sitting next to him, he said, you are ready. After me, you speak. And after him, he spoke. And before he spoke, he said, Mother Saraswati, just reflect, who so-called believed only in Jnana Yoga. He said, Mother Saraswati, you speak through me. Gurudev, he remembered his Guru. And he spoke. And what was the result? 20 plus speakers had spoken before him. But just the simple word, brothers and sisters of America, brought the thundering applause from the entire people. Not only started clapping, they all stood up and started clapping. Only those 3 words, a magic happened. And this magic happens when you and I get connected to the Supreme Consciousness, which in turn takes, as per Swaguna Brahman understanding, Madhavacharya's Dvaita, Advaita, in which he talks about that. Sankhya philosophy, Ramanujam talks about that the world is there and we are here. World is out there and I am out here. That's Sankhya. In Advaita, what we are saying, the entire universe is one. And that one is, I am Atman Brahman. I am Atman Brahman. Brahman is vast. I am Atman is that consciousness. And this is the ultimate understanding of the Vedanta, that this world that we are dealing with it comes into reality the moment I think I am a body and a mind. Name, body, form with a mind. I am like that. And the moment we do that, the rest of the world becomes separate from me. And it is called samsara. Samsara is what? With the people, with the family, with the friends. I am there and the others are there. And in this journey of the spirituality, journey starts up with, I have to sustain. I need comfort, I do not need sufferings. So comes the birth of the religion. And it does help. You notice today in the world over these talks during the COVID-19, a lot of separations are taking place, but it brings you to a great calmness, an inner silence, a peace from within. The moment you go to religion, and from religion you travel further to spirituality. You remember the story which Paramahansa Yogananda used to use, Paramahansa Ramakrishna has used. It is a Vedanta story. Paramahansa Ramakrishna used it very often. And once, this is, those of you read the Kathamrit in page 182 of second volume. If you read Paramahansa Ramakrishna, he had gone, the Marwari gentleman of Calcutta had invited him to do the inauguration of, they had a special puja of Krishna. They invited him to do the puja for them, and the Grihaswami, the owner, the landlord, was very fond of Paramahansa Ramakrishna, and he had recognized him to be an avatar. And in conversation, he is talking that unless you come down as an avatar, our mind can never attain peace. Otherwise, we are too busy with money and making families meet and getting children educated and married and then grow old and then we die. Apparently, we are racing for things of the material world, and when we die, the house owner is saying, we don't go with anything with us. We leave behind everything. The Paramahansa Ramakrishna, from there, when he was coming back, it was the Diwali time. And he's talking about in the horse's chariot he was going, and they were going through that place, very famous in Calcutta, called Boro Bazaar. It's kind of a marketplace, and through which he had to go to a Dakshineshwar temple. And that place was, as per the description, I was just thinking, even those days, he said they're like ants. There were people and people and people. And so Paramahansa Ramakrishna said, let's get down and we will walk, and let the chariot go around and come to that other point. We will walk this path. As he's walking, and as he gets into the chariot, which it comes back, there are beautiful narrations. As he gets in, and he says, Aage chalo, in Bengali. Chalo, chalo. And this is the story which Paramahansa Yogananda used to use, Ramakrishna Paramahansa had used again and again. A woodcutter goes to the jungle and cutting wood, somehow making his day's meat. He is to carry the wood, sell the wood, buy basic ration, eat one time in a day. Very poor family. And one brahmachari was passing through the forest, and he was an enlightened brahmachari, a sage. He asks him, can I have some water from you? Now, this woodcutter had carried his lunch because he worked the whole day there, and little water. So he had that kind of a magnanimity of heart. So he gave him the water, and he said, Sire, you must be hungry. Please eat. And he had carried 4 chapatis with him for his lunch. See, he gave him 1 chapati. He took the second chapati, the brahmachari. He said, I'm very hungry. And the woodcutter gave him all the chapatis. Must have thought come to him. I said, okay, I will not eat today. A good Samaritan, the brahmachari at the end of it, he was very pleased with the woodcutter's selfless act. He said, from tomorrow, go ahead. He said, what does that mean? He just smiled, brahmachari, and he proceeded on his journey. He didn't explain. The next day, the woodcutter came to the same spot and he said, brahmachari had told me to go ahead. Let me see what did he mean by that. He went little ahead, and he found a forest filled with sandalwood. And he said, my God, I didn't know there were sandalwoods here. And he naturally started selling sandalwood and made more money and became very rich. And after a while, he said, go ahead, let me go ahead. And as the parable goes, through the parable, the ancient masters is to give it the message. Jesus Christ, Buddha, Muhammad, everybody is to tell stories. Mahavir Jain, Guru Nanak, Guru Gobind. He went ahead and he found a copper mine. And he became a miner and became very rich. He went ahead further and went to silver mine, a gold mine, and then he even went ahead and he found a diamond mine. And it goes on to say that the further when he went, subsequently, very rich now, he found there was a beautiful glade with a beautiful waterfall and a stream of water running through. And there were 2 huts. He went and he found in front of the one hut, the same brahmachari is sitting and meditating. So the woodcutter by now was not a woodcutter anymore, he's a miner and very rich. He sat down. And after a while, the brahmachari opened his eyes and he smiled and he pointed at the other hut. He said, it is waiting for you. So notice all that journey to acquire more and feed the family and do well for the society and be a great Samaritan and maybe help in many other things to the other poor people. And eventually, it is the poverty within me of ignorance, of what we are disconnected from our essential element called the consciousness, Chaitana, awareness. We are unconscious of our consciousness and we are continuing to do everything. The essence of the Vedanta, the essence is saying Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. And in our earlier session, we covered this essential part that whatever we see, whatever we touch, whatever we are experiencing are nothing else but the eventual awareness. Let us see a quick refresher. I have this flower. All I'm experiencing, look at this, color and shape. For those who are for the first time today, this we call it, give it a name, flower. But look, flower is not another object. Flowers has got a color and shape, and all we are experiencing is the color and the shape through the visual organ. If I close my eyes, the shape goes off. The flower and shape is gone. If I cover it with my hand, you can't see the flower and the shape. Why? There is no second object called flower and the shape. It is only that flower which has got a color and shape, white color and a beautiful petals with flower. So it is the color and the shape. What am I doing? Experiencing it. With what? If I see it through the visual organ, the light reflects from it and gives me a color and a shape, and I'm experiencing the flower. The visual organ works only if I'm conscious. If I'm not conscious, if I'm anesthetized or in coma, or unconscious, I cannot perceive this visual. So, quick summary, what I'm experiencing is color and the shape. Color and the shape I experience only if my visual organ is connecting and operating. If I'm blind, I cannot see it. And the visual organ can only connect me if I'm conscious, if I'm aware. The awareness itself gives me. This is the world of visual world. This is, take another experiment of sound. That was eye, visual. This is auditory. So, sound. Close your eyes. I will strike it once. Experience the sound and the waveform in which it comes. Experience the silence before. Experience the beginning of the sound, the waveform during the sound, and at the end, sound ends and the silence again. I'm closing my eyes. What did I experience? Silence, beginning of the sound, a waveform. We know sound travels in a wave. End of the sound and silence. So, in the sound world, I'm experiencing the sound because of my auditory canal, the ear listening apparatus. And that is happening because of the awareness. Awareness through the auditory is connecting. Now, generally we think it is that I happen to be there to listen to the sound. Yes, I was there and I heard. Vedanta says no, your awareness is there all the time. The sound happened to appear before the awareness for you to be aware. The visual thing happened to appear to the awareness. Awareness is always there. Now, quick understanding. The visual, the flower, and the sound, both together. I'm looking at the world. If I strike it, the sound will come, the visual. I'm looking at the world with my eye and listening to the world with my ear. Both together. There is the beginning of the seeing, the visual thing appears in front of the flower appears in front of my vision. I'm aware of it. There is an end to it. There is beginning of the seeing, there is the end of the seeing. There is beginning of the sound, there is end of the sound. Is the awareness, does it have beginning or end? Even when there was silence, even when there was no flower, awareness is not ending. This awareness is me. It's that I am Atman Brahman. Look at the taste, the touch, and the smell. 5 senses with which I experience the world. I grab the world and bring it to my brain, and brain to the mind. Hard facts of consciousness does not go ahead and explain in the Western science as yet. How does the mind get the first person experience? How does it do it? Electronically, go to Phoenix Mall, the door opens. Go and put your hand in front of a tap in an airport, the water starts to flow electronically. Electronically it is happening. Google car is moving electronically. It can do all that. but they cannot get the first person experience when you drink the cold water and you say, so nice. And this is that awareness with which what is the understanding from this is the entire universe is my consciousness. Another name of the flower is my awareness. Through the vision, I see the object. Another name of the sound is my awareness. Another name of the touch, taste, and smell is my awareness. In other words, this universe is my awareness. If I am unconscious or coma, the universe vanishes from me. So, that universe is me. Vedanta goes ahead and says in Mandukya Upanishad, I am Atman Brahman. Mahavakyas, 4 Mahavakyas in 4 Vedas, and comes up and gives us. With this understanding, in our journey today, remember what Paramahansa Ramakrishna said. I'll just take you to what does it say here? Tie the knowledge of Vedanta at the hem of your clothes, your sari, your dress, and then go ahead and practice whatever you like. So why is this try the knowledge of the Vedanta? Let me give you a little bit of the details of getting back to an understanding of the Vedanta and the Upanishads and the Puranas. You know, in the ancient time, the very learned, educated, they used to study through the brahmacharya and then garhast and then sannyas, and then they would study. No, I want to go back to the full screen. The Vedas. In the Veda, there was Aranyaka and there is Jnanakanda. Aranyaka actually contained the entire rituals, and those rituals in the Vedas went ahead and gave us the knowledge of how to, let's say you have read about Ashwamedha Yoga, which Yagna, which Dasharath did and Rama did. That Ashwamedha Yoga also in Mahabharata, after they won, Panchapandav won the battle, they did that Ashwamedha Yoga. This yagna was done to show to the world that this entire world belongs to me, this entire universe. Wherever the horse went around, people had to bow down to the horse and accept the king, the kingdom. I am under that kingdom. Like that, there were various procedures, particularly yagnas. And have you noticed today, most of our worship in almost in all religion, we have a lamp. That lamp is nothing else but a symbol of the worship of the fire, yagna. Remembering that yagna. In some of them, we do the yagna itself, very rarely, because it is Agnihotra and couple of little bit of, arrangements are necessary to do that. So we must light a lamp at least. And that lamp is a symbol of that yagna. Most of our processes of religious practices all over the world are following, particularly the ones of the Indian ones, are following the essence of what was given in the Upanishads. Upanishad, you will be surprised to hear, Dara Shikoh, who was the brother of Shah Jahan, he was very fond of Indian Upanishad, and he got it translated, being a Persian, he got it translated by a Persian scholar, and he named it Upanikhat. And you would be amazed to hear that Max Muller translated that into German and then subsequently English, and that's how the journey of the Upanishad went into the Western world. Now, there are 4 Vedas, we are all aware, and there are 108 Upanishads and 18 Puranas. This is just for knowledge. 108 Upanishads. So it is said there is a beautiful Upanishad, a small Upanishad, not one of the major one, but it's called Mukti Upanishad. And in the Mukti Upanishad, all the names of 108 Upanishads are written down. And in which there's a beautiful story. Hanumanji goes and asks Rama, if I want, which is Jain is called Kaivalya, he says Nirvana, Mukti, what is it that I have to do? The Rama said, you study Mandakya Upanishad. Mandakya Upanishad is among the smallest one, the smallest, only 12 verses, and yet it is called, in Bengali they call it Dhani Lanka. You will find this chili quite a few places. It's like a tiny bit like a bird's eye, and it's very spicy. So they said, Mandakya Upanishad, Ek Mandakya Ek Alam, is enough for you to attain Nirvana. Just study and understand and practice that. And then Rama goes ahead and explains. And if you can't do that, then he gives the names of 108 Upanishads. These Upanishads came along to actually bring about to the world, to the people, the various processes of life. Upanishads, let's say in Isha Upanishad, there are 40 verses. And the 39 verses are talking about the Upanishad and talking about the parts of the Veda, in which the last verse is giving the meanings of that Upanishad, which is Jnanakanda. Rest of them is Aranyakanda. The Jnanakanda in Upanishads, generally it is the end, and in some of the Vedas it is somewhere in between, is the essence of the Jnanakanda. And what is the Aranyakanda is to earn money, is to live well, is to follow certain procedures, how to do puja, how to do what mantras, all that process is there. And at the end, it gives the Jnanakanda. Jnanakanda tells us how to go ahead and attain what? Nirvana, Mukti, from this suffering. How do we attain that? You'll be amazed to hear, as per the Western and the ancient Indian rishis and the current specialists, they say we have these 18 Puranas. Most of the entire religious books of all religion are equivalent to the Indian Puranas. There are none which is close to the Upanishads, the essence of the rich knowledge which the great masters have gone ahead and talked about in the Western world too, and in, of course, the ancient India. These Upanishads take you to the ultimate essence of the purpose of life. Why are we here? Now, I would like you to go ahead and understand one tiny bit. In which you see, this is Drik Drishya Viveka. We had covered this before. What did we learn in Drig Drishya Viveka compared to what we did just now about the awareness, about the consciousness? We went headlong onto the ultimate learning. But notice we had done similar thing in the Drig Drishya Viveka. And if you look at it, let us say, I am seeing this flower. In Drig Drishya Viveka, what did we do? We said, this is the flower, seer and the seen. This is an object, I'm seeing it through my eye. But notice, what in Drig Drishya Viveka we did is we separated the world. We isolated as the witness to the witnessed. Seer and the seen. Drashta and drishya. Separate. I is the seen, object is the seer. The drishya keeps changing. So many drishyas all around us. But drashta remains same. Drishya are many, drashta is one. And then we went ahead and said, okay, blink your eyes. Your mind knows that your eye is blinking. You know you need to wear a specs. You know that you need to go to an eye specialist. Who is that eye now? Earlier, that eye, drashta, was the eye, E-Y-E-I. Now that eye is another eye, is the mind. The mind is seeing. This drishya is continuously changing. Are many. Mind is experiencing, not just the eye, is anger, jealousy, greed, love, harmony, are many. But mind is relatively not changing. And same three qualities. And now, who's observing, understanding that I am not liking this person? Who's experiencing, I'm feeling sleepy? So, getting back to, notice in the Drig Drishya Viveka, what is it we are and what is it we are not? Seer and the seen are different. Seen are changing, seen are many. Mind's observer and I am the observed. Awareness alone is the observer eventually. We came to that awareness alone is the observer observing the mind. That one thing which knows is the awareness. But here the difference was, in Drig Drishya Viveka, that seer and the seen are two. Drashta and the drishya were two different, which separates the world. And from there we have traveled on to the ultimate, to the Mandakya Upanishad, that consciousness alone is this universe, and this universe is in me, and I am the universe. So then why are we suffering? We have dealt with this. Please go ahead and share with that. I'll not get into that. But understanding in today's world, the most important is this consciousness, is this power which is within us. We are unconscious of it. We are not using it. To use it, what do? Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. We listen, Mananam, we reflect, we study some more Vedantic, and we ask questions. Makes our understanding, and some of you may be asking questions later on. I would recommend, if you can reflect on it, go ahead and ask later on, no problem. But better is if it comes to you right now, ask in front of everyone so that we can discuss it and all of us can learn together. Maybe the same question is there in another person's mind and they will also learn it together. So, Shravanam, Mananam, and then Nididhyasanam. Reflect, meditate on it. And you will see every time you meditate and you emerge from it, your knowledge level goes up. Now utilize the power of the consciousness in, yes, to attain that nirvana. And before that, Go ahead and solve the issues of your life. You would be amazed the power of this consciousness. If you, it has happened to you many times. You may not have realized it, you may not have been conscious. Let's say it is your birthday and you are living far off place from your mother, and you're thinking, I want to call my mother, I'm missing her. And suddenly train call comes, and you pick up and your mother is saying, hi champion beta, how are you? And you say, my God, mother, I was just thinking of you. Hasn't it happened to you all? It happened to almost everyone. It has happened funnily so many times. Once we were about to start the session, a Sunday session. And before that, that particular day, there are some beautiful berries which come into the market in Pune, gooseberries. And I was thinking that day while during the breakfast, I haven't seen these gooseberries, we haven't eaten it for a while. And it was about half an hour to go for 10 o'clock session. And about 9:30, there's a lady and she calls me up and says, I want to know which fruit do you need? I'm going to buy, I'm in Pune Club. I said, and I said, we don't need anything. I have all the fruits. Please come down quickly and join. You're missing the session, another half an hour. She said, yes, I'll be there on time. Quickly tell me, what do you need? I said, I have the fruit. She said, do you have apples? I said, yes, we do. She said, do you have pears? And I said, yes. And then suddenly she asked, ye kya hai? What is that? And that guy said something and she said, do you have gooseberry? I said, no, please bring. You will get connected with that. You have the fear of the coroner. Prepare yourself. You will be an invisible shield protecting you. No such viruses, evil minds will come. If Paramahansa Ramakrishna is saying, there is to be one boy, young boy, very inquisitive and always used to come out with negative thoughts. Is asking Paramahansa Ramakrishna thoughts which are not conducive to learning but amounting to challenging. But Paramahansa Ramakrishna patiently is to answer him. One day, his name is Hajra. If you read Kathamrit, Gospels of Ramakrishna, you will read that. Paramahansa Ramakrishna is saying, somewhere about second volume, page 135. He says, Mother, please change this person's mind or keep him somewhere else. Don't bring him here. And thereafter, poor Hajra just didn't come. If you read autobiography of Yogi, Master Masai, the same M, who wrote the Kathamrit, Paramahansa Ramakrishna, Paramahansa Yogananda had gone to meet this Master M, and he went and met him. There's a beautiful story about, he asks M, sir, would you please tell mother to give me an experience? And M knew Paramahansa Yogananda's potential and capability. He just smiled. Next day, that evening, that night, Paramahansa Yogananda had the Divine Mother's experience. Next day when he met M, Paramahansa Yogananda is asking him, sir, did you ask mother? Did you tell mother? Now M knew that Yogananda has already experienced mother sitting in his home. This is called that consciousness. And he answers Paramahansa Yogananda, oh, you mischievous boy. That's all he said, and he smiled. So Paramahansa Yogananda says, I did pranam to M. So these powers are not meant for only great masters. We are experiencing it, using it all the time. Remember the washerman with the diamond stone? We are not using it. We are using it to washing the clothes, touching, tasting, seeing, feeling, smelling, talking, watching, WhatsApp, and wasting of time. Go ahead, utilize it toward the world, but don't forget every day some dedicated time at the dedicated space, at the dedicated asana. Morning practice with your exercises, with the Kriya Yoga, a very special boon given to only few of us, and couple it with Vedanta. As Ramakrishna says, tie it in the anchal. Keep that knowledge with you and then practice it. And you are on sure shot proceeding intensely faster in your journey. I wish to share before we go into the question and answer. Tomorrow we have Holi. Most of you know the story. I would like to give you a little angle to this. These Puranas, there were 18 Puranas. There are various types of Puranas. And in this Puran, like Vishnu Puran, Garud Puran, Shiv Puran, like that, Devi Puran. And the Holi is explained, the story of the Holika, from where the name Holi came. Sister of Hiranyakashipu, father of Prahlad, is given in 3 Purans: Narada Puran, Bhagavad Puran, and Bhavishya Puran. All these have got a different angle, but more or less talking about it. Recollect this, but tie it up with the Advaita knowledge. Holika wanted to kill Prahlad on the orders of his brother Hiranyakashipu, who got the boon from Brahma that he cannot be killed by any projectile weapon, any handheld weapon. He cannot be killed on land, water, or air. He cannot be killed by a man or an animal or a god or an angel. And like that. He said, now I'm invincible. And he told everyone, you have to worship me. If you don't worship me, I'm going to kill you. And he started destroying anyone who didn't want to believe. And just see, he was going berserk with his power, and his own son, Prahlad, born and guided by his mother, Prahlad's mother, and a wife of Hiranyakashipu, he worshipped Vishnu. And when he said, I refuse to obey you as a god, I worship Vishnu, just see, this Vishnu, take it as not as Saguna Brahman, as a consciousness Brahman. Hiranyakashipu wanted to kill him, destroy. COVID-19 wanting to kill. Couldn't kill. Holika took him to inside the fire. She had the boon that she cannot be burnt. But what happened? She had this boon because of the vastra which she got. But the vastra went flying and she got burnt. Prahlad came out smiling. He tried many other ways. That elephant, dropping him from the hilltop, nothing could kill Prahlad. And remember, Sarva Vyapi, Anantam, Advaitam. What? This consciousness, awareness. I'm applying now Advaita knowledge here. And Hiranyakashipu, very angry and agitated, and asked Prahlad, what is this Vishnu, Vishnu, Vishnu? You keep saying, I'm going to kill him. Tell me, where is he? Prahlad says, he's everywhere. And there's a beautiful story I remember in Bhubaneswar, in one of the school, run by a monk. They were doing this Prahlad scene, and all the parents and everybody and children were watching. And that Hiranyakashipu asked this boy who was acting as Prahlad, where is your? And this Narasimha Avatar was hiding behind one particular pillar in the play. He was to come out when he kicks the pillar. And Prahlad knew that this is this pillar and not this pillar. There were many pillars there. Prahlad boy, who was playing that acting there that day. So Narasimha, who was acting another man, he said, where is he? Is he in this pillar? And he showed the wrong pillar. And that boy said, no, that pillar. In this actual story, Prahlad said, yes, he's everywhere. He is in this pillar, and he kicks it. And Narasimha Avatar, who was neither man, neither an animal, and he didn't use any weapon, he used his own hand and killed him by tearing his chest and sucking up his blood. So in other words, the power of the purity and the truth shall always win over the evil, is the message. Holy is also because of, you would be amazed to hear, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is because of who this Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, there's ISKCON is started off by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from another Vedanta called Gauri Vedanta, which was started up by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And from there, from Bengal, it spread and all over the world today. In US, if you go down and ask where is Vedanta Ashram, nobody will know. But if you ask where is the Krishna consciousness,
Hare Rama,
yes, and the ISKCON, I was talking about. Where is ISKCON? They will tell you everywhere. It's very good. Or let's say Swami Narayan Mandir. Huge temple.
It's 12 o'clock.
And it is there everywhere. This is also there. Also, Shiva and Parvati's marriage. Parvati wanted to marry Shiva. I am now finishing 12 o'clock, but we'll have a little time for the question answers. Parvati wanted to marry Shiva, but Shiva was too engrossed in his meditation. You all know that story. Parvati continued to do his tapasya. Kamadev felt bad. The Kamadev said, okay, I will help you. And he threw his arrow, and the arrow struck Shiva, and Shiva's third eye opened up, and it burned Kamadeva to ashes. His wife, Ritu, was heartbroken. I tried to help Parvati. Eventually, they did get married, and at the time of the marriage, Ritu came and asked, please make my husband come alive again. And Shiva did, and as he did, all the gods and goddesses showered upon Shiva and Parvati various colors of the flower. That is called the Holi. This Holika Dahan is done on today in the northeastern sectors in the Punjab area as the fire which is grown, and you will find many other places also we do that. So with that, I wish you all very happy Holi, and please go ahead and ask questions, whatever you have in your mind. Go ahead. Any question? Should I take it? No question? Okay. Let's close it with our salutations. Om. May the peace and the happiness of the universe with the Divine Mother, Param Brahma, Brahman, shower upon each one of participants, and also everywhere, your relatives, your friends, and protect them. May the peace and the protection shower upon everyone who may be not a part of this listening. Everywhere, those who are destitute and suffering be relieved from their pain. Akasha Shanti, Prithvi Shanti, Vayu Shanti, Agnyaya Shanti, Jalaspataya Shanti, Gau Shanti, Uttaraya Shanti, Dakshinaya Shanti, Purvadisha Shanti, Paschimaya Shanti, Om Nakshatra Shanti, Graha Shanti, Chittaha Shanti, Manaha Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Jai Guru.